So what I did here was I asked AI to create an image that ties in climate change to the pace of bandwidth demand growth, please. Wow. The Earth is on fire. It's going to crack apart because of demand. It's overheating. 37% is a number there for some reason. I don't know what that means. But unfortunately, the reality is we're not seeing an overheating. We're seeing global cooling, right? So this is a chart showing the annual pace of growth of used international bandwidth since 2010. You can see in the last 5 years, it's been steadily slowing. It's gone below 40% a while ago, and the most current period, it was just below 30%. Now you may think, well, this is a global total. Of course it's small because it's slowing in the big markets, and surely in the more smaller markets, it's growing much faster. It hasn't slowed yet, right? Well, let's look at that. Let's look and see, looking at the different regions of the world, are we seeing global cooling? And we are. Looking at these 3 CAGR periods I've created here, the most recent period is 2020 to 2024, that red bar. And you can see it's gone down for every region except for one. Latin America is a little bit higher than the previous period, but both those bars there, the 2015 to 2019 and 2024 are already much lower than the previous bar. So widespread global deceleration of international bandwidth demand growth. So the next question logically is, why are we seeing this, right? So let's answer that question. When we ask operators who provide to us data on their network growth and their deployment of capacity, what's been going on, the most common response to this is we localized more in the past year. We were able to keep more the content applications that compute local. We connect more to internet exchanges in our region. Cloud came to us now. We don't have to connect to the cloud remotely. Becoming more and more in region, which does play a role in slowing the growth of bandwidth of international demand. Doesn't stop it, it's just slowing it, okay? Submarine cable delays was cited by some operators as a reason they didn't deploy as much as they wanted to. So this could mean perhaps that in the coming years, as cables are finally completed, we could see at least a temporary surge in demand growth for some routes when these cables enter service. But one other aspect that we hear a lot from companies who are really new to building their networks out, like a cloud operator, a CDN, when they enter a new market, they often go in really big. You know, they need to ensure they can provide a high level of service. They might come in and put in 4 paths of 400 gigs. That's 1.6 terabits. That sounds huge to some of these markets. They'll put that in initially, and then once they have enough scale, diversity achieved, they wait until it starts to grow, until it fills up. That may take a while, so growth kind of slows in the interim period. So you do see a spike sometimes in some markets when they get a new cloud region or some operator puts in a bunch of new compute and storage in there. And finally, kind of a heuristic here, which is the law of large numbers, which is something that is growing at a rapid pace cannot grow at that rate forever. I mean, if we were still seeing bandwidth demand growth of 80, 90%, we'd be in trouble. You can't build cables fast enough to meet that kind of growth, right? So slowing demand is a natural part of the industry, I believe. So let's not get too sad here, because slower growth, it leads to massive volume still, okay? You know, we're below 30% globally in the most recent year. That's still huge. So let's look at our forecasts of international bandwidth demand growth to 2030. And you can see here, for those regions again, the compound annual growth rate that I've shown here. Now with the y-axis, I did something kind of unique. I didn't just put increments of 10, 20, 30%. I put some weird numbers in here. I put 38, 35, 31. Now why did I do that? I wanted to put in numbers that correspond to the X-fold increase of demand. So you can see here, if something is growing at 20%, at a compound annual growth rate of 20% for this period of 2024 to 2030, that would be a 3-fold increase. If it's 38%, that's a 7-fold increase, right? So looking here at, let's say, Asia, 32% CAGR the next 6 years, yeah, that's a mere quintupling of bandwidth connected to Asia, right? So you often get confused when you hear these growth rates and how they, what the impact that compounding has in the overall scale of the bandwidth. And the numbers are massive. So let's look at the actual terabits, petabits we're gonna need in the next six years. So this is the incremental required for these regions you can see here. For Asia, 5.2 petabits of additional capacity coming from 2024 to 2030.